Why am I going to go to a maze? Could I have something amazing to say? No? Too much? Greetings, traveller. Perhaps you'd be willing to help an old man. You see, my magic necklace that protects me from evil spirits on the road has fallen down into this well, into the ruins of an abandoned and totally not at all haunted temple. Could you fetch it for me? I promise you the journey will be exciting. For you see, labyrinths, mazes, and dungeons have long since trapped wayward adventurers. Some travellers do see their trial through to the end, and even find freedom once again. But the task is difficult, and the path is not always clear. For this Sansar contest, we are challenging you, the Sansar community, to create a labyrinth experience. So this labyrinth-based experience does not have to be a maze or a labyrinth in the very literal sense where they're bound by their real-world distinctions. For instance, under some terminology, a labyrinth is supposed to have one continuous path, mazes always being a puzzle of branching pathways like you can see the one I'm in now. We want you to get creative and even adventurous with the path that you put before avatars and bring interactivity and mind-bending brain teasers to these experiences. So, this contest is starting today, and it is running until June 17th, 5 p.m. Pacific time. I'll get to the prizes in a minute, but they're pretty glorious. The goal of the experience should be for a user's avatar to get from point A to point B. So like a labyrinth or maze, you have a start and you have an end, and the goal is to get from one place to the other. That's the basic concept. In addition to that, the user must complete some form of challenge or puzzle in order to reach point A, i.e. walking through a maze, navigating a nebulous branching pathway, or solving a series of puzzles, or even riddles, something like the Sphinx's Lair, or a Legend of Zelda style temple dungeon where a series of puzzles will open doors to get you into the next room so you can solve more puzzles to open the next door and eventually find your way to the end. And then our final piece of criterion, point number 3, is that it should be clear when a user has successfully reached point B after having completed this challenge. So we want them to know, okay, that you've done it. That could be as obvious as a little free with like confetti flying out. A little sound effect, just like the one I gave you there. Feel free to clip that, use that as your soundbite. So the contest is to create a labyrinth experience for Sansar that is not bound by the real-world distinction of mazes and labyrinths. In fact, we want to see creativity and interactivity brought to the labyrinth-style experience. Criteria 1 is that the user's avatar has to get from point A to point B. That's the goal of the experience. Point 2 must be some kind of challenge to complete in order to get from point A to point B. Right, some kind of maze, some kind of series of puzzles, something like that. And then finally, it should be clear when the user has reached point B and they've completed the challenge and they're through the dungeon, they're through the labyrinth. So what makes a good labyrinth? What makes a really good one? Well, we definitely want that sense of wonder and exploration, something that makes you feel like a small child exploring a big world like in Pan's Labyrinth or Alice in Wonderland. And we also want to see a creative use of Sansar that kind of pushes what a platform can really do. Like, we want to see how far you can go with this idea. And then, as a final little point, a really good labyrinth will be something that subverts a user's expectations. Something that sets up one thing and then really gives them a bit of a twist, a bit of a surprise, and they're like, wow, I didn't expect it to go like that, to go this way. So, these labyrinth experiences will be judged based on complexity, creativity, interactivity, and enjoyment. So we want it to be fun as well. And these will be judged by an expert panel of Sansar staff. So continuing on, we want to see experiences within this contest that are recognizably a maze or a labyrinth to the average person, but we want you to get creative with the challenge portion of the experience, right? Because that's really what a maze or a labyrinth boils down to, is going from point A to point B, and there's a challenge in the middle. So we want to see how creative you can get with that challenge portion of this notion. And we especially want to see experiences that amaze and delight users without being too easy. Definitely something that brings an interactive element to it as well. That's something the user feels like they solved. The most important part, the prizes. Okay, what are the prizes? The grand prize for the Sansar Labyrinth contest is $5,000 USD. Second place will be a 1-year subscription to a 3D modeling tool of your choice, the choice being between Maya and Zbrush. So we will buy a year subscription to Maya or Zbrush, your choice. That's the second place prize. And then the third place prize is an Oculus VR headset, including the Oculus Touch controllers and motion sensors. The deadline, as I said, is June 17th, 5 p.m. PST. That's a Sunday. Sorry, PDT. There are no limits to how many entries you can submit. However, and this is a big however, bring out a couple of big points. The big however is the entry cannot be an existing Sansar experience. So for instance, the Kung Fury maze that I'm in right now, I'm sorry, Kung Fury, you're going to have to make a new maze if you want to enter a maze into our Labyrinth contest. So no pre-existing experiences. All experiences entered into this competition have to be built starting today. So sometime after this date, they have to be created. And the entry must be published before the deadline of June 17th, 5 p.m. PDT. Okay? So that's the contest, guys. And good luck to all of my dungeon crawlers and labyrinth travelers. May your wits and cunning guide you to freedom once more.